Welcome, and I genuinely appreciate you clicking on this video. I've got another strength workout today, and right now the focus of this channel is strength training and mind strength training. So I'll be doing a little bit of both of those today. The strength portion will be a little bit shorter than usual. I've been doing some off-camera strength training. So I'm probably just gonna hit chest and maybe some shoulders with this. But for the mind portion, if you are someone that struggles with feeling like you are lacking in life, like I occasionally do as well, I will be sharing my thoughts on how I think you can improve that, specifically around my thoughts on success. So stick around if you feel like that's something that's gonna help you out. So the reason I specifically wanted to talk about success is because for some reason in my YouTube feed, I've been getting a lot of stuff about people talking about whether or not you should follow your passion. And typically, the reason why people are talking about that is because if someone goes up to a successful person and asks, hey, how do you become successful? And some of those guys get a lot of critique for saying, well, just follow your passion. Because that's when they look back on it or when they look at themselves, that's what they feel like they did. But some people have been giving some pushback on that recently and saying that that's bad advice. You're never going to get anywhere with that. So I kind of want to push back on that and kind of give my reasons why I think that might not be bad advice after all. I think when people are asking how to become successful, what they're really asking is, how do I fill that void in my life? That's the big reason why we're all chasing money, in my opinion. Money is just a value system. It just shows that you're worth something, and it shows how much you're worth in terms of the value that you provided to society. And we tend to confuse that with self-worth, which are two very different things. It's one thing to say that you've done enough to benefit the market to provide value, and it's another thing to just feel value within yourself. Now, I am still trying to figure a lot of this out, so it is just the way that I feel about it now. I haven't become a super successful person materially, but I think I have become pretty successful in some other areas in life that I feel are really important. A couple of those areas where I feel like I've been pretty successful is one, my relationship with my wife. I've been with her, we've been dating since 2009, so 16 years now. We've been married since 2018, so 7 years now, and things are as good as they've ever been. I love her as much as I ever have, if not more so. And I think that's something that most people would find extremely important, and I think a lot of people would put a good relationship and a good marriage over money, depending on the situation that they're in. Sometimes you're just so broke that you want some money. And the other thing would be the financial success that I've been able to get as a blue-collar worker. About 6 or 7 years ago now, my wife and I were broke. I didn't have a job, didn't have anything going for me. And 6 years after that, we have around $220,000 invested, and that's all money that's invested. That's not anything that's saved or in the house or anything like that. And on top of that, obviously, we've been able to get a house as well. And I don't make that much money. My wife doesn't make much money either, but we do have two incomes, but I make less than $60,000 a year. So, extrapolating that over 5-6 years, mathematically, it seems like it would be pretty hard to be able to get that much money into investing, let alone paying for groceries, a child, mortgage, and all those kind of things as well. The reason I bring that up is because I got really passionate about index fund investing, funny enough. I didn't know anything about that 7 years ago. I just happened to come across it just while trying to be curious about finances and potential ways I don't have to work till I'm 65 years old. Now, I know that's a little bit different than talking about passion for a career, but I think that's important to mention because it made me passionate about finances in general, which made my job something that I didn't enjoy at the time into something that I did enjoy. Because I all of a sudden had a purpose. I had a reason to be working other than just providing. And don't get me wrong, providing is important and can be fulfilling, but at the time it wasn't enough for me. I didn't want to have to work the same blue-collar job for the next 45 years and hope that I have enough money to retire for the next 20 years after that. Now, most of these guys that are saying that following your passion is a bad advice, they are talking specifically about careers, but I do think that there's proof against that as well. I mean, when you look at the best of the best that followed their passion, you see the Michael Jordans of the world. J.K. Rowling was super successful. My favorite author, Brandon Sanderson, He's at the top of the fantasy genre right now, and all he did was follow his passion, essentially. I believe before he was ever famous, and he was really early in his writing career, if I remember correctly, he actually worked a job at a motel, the night shift, specifically so he could write. He didn't care how much money he was making at the time, he just wanted to write. And lo and behold, he's now super successful, worth tens of millions of dollars, and everyone in the fantasy genre is buying up his books. So I think cases like that do show that following your passion can pay off in extremely rewarding ways, not only financially, but with a purpose in life or in a fulfilling way. Now, you do have the opposite side of that, to where, specifically if you're talking about the NBA, there's only so many people that make the NBA. I mean, it's less than, I think even just from graduating college, less than 1% of the players that are playing D1 high-level basketball even make it into the NBA. And same thing with authors. You know, a lot of authors don't get published, let alone sell enough copies to make enough money to have a living. But one thing against that the statistics might not talk about is how many of those people quit before they should have, or how many people got deep enough into it to realize that it wasn't actually their passion. Because sometimes following your passion can change, because you get deep enough into something and realize, hey, I'm not as into it as much as I thought I was going to be. And that's a good thing as well, because it just helps you move on to the next thing that you might be passionate about and want to do. I do genuinely believe that if you stick with something long enough with the goal of getting better and better at it, you will eventually become successful. And again, success might differ depending on what you are. Maybe you're not going to be worth $100 million someday, but personally that's not super important to me. I don't need $100 million to be fulfilled and to do the things that I want to do in life. And maybe that changes once I get to $3 million, but for now I just want to get to $3 million and see how that changes my life. But really good examples of that are Bryan Cranston. He's the actor, the dad in Malcolm in the Middle, and Walter White in Breaking Bad, which is a great show. I've never watched Malcolm in the Middle, but Breaking Bad I love, so go watch that if you haven't watched that. But he didn't get his big break until he was 43 years old. You know, a lot of actors quit before then. Another great example I like to use is the Colonel, KFC. He didn't open his first KFC until he was 63 years old. And then obviously he went on to be one of the top 5 probably fast food chains in America. A lot of that success was after he died, but still, he was super successful really late in his life. And again, I don't want to make this conversation focus completely on material success or wealth, but I don't think that you're doing something at 63 unless you really, really want to be doing it. Now, not everyone can be a success story on the level of a Bryan Cranston or the Colonel, but even if you're not, I have a ton of respect for people that keep chasing their dreams and following their passion if they haven't reached the level of success that they originally set out for. I have a brother that is now in his mid-30s, and he's been chasing the Broadway dream for probably about 15 years now. And a lot of people at this point, I think, would say, hey, quit, it's time to hang it up. You know, you need to think about your financial future, or you need to realize that you're not going to make it. I think that's really stupid to consider if it's not what you want to do. I think about death a lot because it helps prioritize things in my life, and it helps keep me in the moment. So I bring that up because I think of if my brother did take that into consideration and he quit when he didn't feel like he should quit, then, you know, assuming he's lucky enough to live until the average age of men, which I think is 79 years old, then he's got the next 45 years wondering if he lived a suboptimal life potentially because he gave up on his dreams. And I don't know what the point of life is if it's not to do what you want. And I don't mean that necessarily in a hedonistic way. I think it's important that we benefit the community and the people around us, and that we're not just taking. That's a topic for another video sometime potentially. But to do something that you want in a meaningful way and in a way that's not going to hurt other people. I think modern culture has programmed us a little bit, and I want to be careful with that because I don't want to blame anyone else for anything that I might have done in my life. But, you know, we have this outline. You've got the idea that you want your kid to go to school, get married, have kids, and retire at 65. And I do think that there is value in that system. You know, I don't want to underestimate what humans have collectively been able to achieve over time. And I think there is some wisdom in taking a path like that because life is a lot of suffering. And if all you can do in life is mitigate the suffering, then that's a win in my book. But at the same time, if you are someone that wants to deviate heavily from the norm, I don't think that you should stop yourself from doing that. If you want to make $100 million, then go make $100 million. If you want to sit around and play video games all day long and you find a way to make that work for yourself, then go do it. I don't have a problem with either one of those things. And if anyone does have a problem with that, well, I think fuck them. It's your life. You should do what you want with it. You could die tomorrow. I could die tomorrow. Aliens could invade tomorrow. I don't know. There could be a nuclear war. It's just like, why would you not do the thing that you're passionate about, even if it's not going to lead to serious material success? I think a lot of these people that are giving the advice that following your passion is bad advice are people that have been super, super successful in their fields. So I think their baseline when answering that question is, okay, how do you become someone that makes $100 million? Well, there's only so many ways that you can do that. You have to be like an extreme outlier like J.K. Rowling and just create something that's so commercially successful that you just become a billionaire or whatever she ended up being, or you just have to create a business. You just have to be a business person. So they might be looking at it from the lens, okay, well, you might not want to create a business, but if you want to become as rich as I have, then this is what you have to go do. I think Alex Hormozy does have a pretty good, interesting take on it. I'm not sure I agree with it or not, but he says that you should just get good enough at something that it becomes your passion. And I do think that makes sense. When you are good at something, you tend to just naturally enjoy it. But currently, his passion is business. It's all he talks about. It's all he wants to talk about, according to what he says. And he became super successful in business. I don't know if that passion developed before he really started business or it grew as he was growing his businesses. But as hard as he's worked throughout his career, it's hard to imagine that he didn't have some sort of passion for business at the beginning. Another way to look at it that I think is pretty interesting is, what if your passion is just to prove somebody wrong? What if you have a father or a mother that disapprove of everything and all you can think about all the time is just how you want to prove to them that you matter? Now, it's a little bit of a darker place to come from, but we've all heard those success stories where people have wanted to just shut up the haters, and they went on to become super successful about that. And I think that's a version of following your passion, even if it's not anything that people discuss on a regular basis. I know that is kind of getting away from the original point, which is how to become successful in a career, but I do think that we as humans make the mistake of getting too fixated on one thing. Life is not about, to me, getting a job and making a whole lot of money. It's about figuring out how to make the best of yourself, or just how to be happy or at peace, whatever it is in the core of yourself that you're trying to achieve. That's how you become successful in life. And money is just a stepping stone in a lot of that, and it's oftentimes a false idol, because we've all heard those success stories from wealthy people where they got all the money that they could ever need or want and more, and they were miserable. There's plenty of proof out there that money is not what we all are hoping to be, at least those of us that haven't reached the 7-figure marker or whatever it is that you're trying to get to. I personally feel pretty lucky. I think I've reached a fairly high level of satisfaction in my life. Obviously, I am working towards more, and I don't feel fully satisfied with everything that I've accomplished in my life, but I love my family. I love where I live. I have a job that doesn't make me miserable. I'm on pace to have more money than I ever thought that I would have when I was in my 20s. And those are things that I can feel proud of for accomplishing. And people might not look at me and say, oh, wow, he's successful, but in some regards, I feel very successful and very fortunate. So ultimately, I do think that you should follow your passion, but I do think that you should be very careful about how you're doing that, because a passion can quickly become a nightmare. You do want to make sure that you have some of your bucket of water full before you go out and try and explore the desert, I guess is a way to put it. In my opinion, I think you should make sure that you have some financial foundation. I think that you should have some money saved away and be all the way, if not mostly, out of debt. So that way you don't have things that are creeping up your spine and potential backbreakers. Money doesn't buy happiness, but it sure as hell helps. So if you've already got your ducks in a row, I don't see why you wouldn't or shouldn't just do what you want to do or follow your passion, however you want to put it. That's the reason I'm doing this type of YouTube style. I'm passionate about fitness, and I'm passionate about trying to figure out my mind. So this is a way for me to do both those things. I get to work out while talking to you about my thoughts and feelings and trying to rearrange them and orient myself in my life, and hopefully that helps benefit you and other people as well. And again, I think it's really important to define success. You know, before you can follow your passion, you have to be able to identify what that is. And I think the best way to do that I've been able to figure out so far is to identify what you feel like a successful life would be. You know, if you go talk to a monk about success, I honestly don't know if they would even answer that kind of question, because, you know, they're a monk. I don't know. They're looking for other things. But I would think that a monk's version of success is peace. They just want peace. And that's obviously very different from the Americanized version of success, which is, again, material wealth. So if you just want peace, you know, maybe you should go be a monk instead of doing what you're doing. I don't know. I haven't been able to figure out peace. I'm working on that one too. Again, I'm just trying to figure all this out for myself. So what I'm trying to work on right now is figuring out what I think success would be for me. And right now I think that would just be more freedom to spend time with my wife and daughter. Less obligation to have to be places at specific times, whether that's having to go to work or hang out with people that I don't want to be around. Any of those things. I just want space. I want more money so that I can create more space in my life, so that I can fill that space with more things that I want to do. That sounds like success to me. I think in order to get there, I would probably need to get $150,000 a year. And I don't want to do that through a grind. I don't want to have to go get some degree somewhere or go work at a trade in a job that I hate for, 10 years until I get promoted enough to $150,000 a year. Like, that whole grind and way of doing things just never made sense to me. So I have tried to kind of tweak it and figure it out for myself, and I think I've done a pretty good job of that so far. I'm on the right track, but I haven't gotten there yet. Keyword being yet. So thank you for anyone that may be watching at this point. You are helping me work towards my dream, and I hope that you watching this has helped orient your life towards working towards your dream and whatever it is that you want success to be for you. Well, for this being a fitness related channel, there's not a whole lot of fitness talk or even fitness going on in this one. Like I said, it's going to be a pretty light day. I don't even think that I'm going to do shoulder stuff. I'll probably just save that for tomorrow. It'll be a heavier workout tomorrow, but it's nice to be able to share my thoughts with you, and it's nice to be able to do that while strength training, because I tend to be an impatient lifter and I don't rest as long as I should when I'm lifting. So it's nice to be able to sit here and try and figure out what I'm going to try and say to you while resting, because all of a sudden I've been resting for 5 to 10 minutes and I'm ready to go again. Man, the more you do something, the more respect you start to have for people that are really, really good at what you do, because I definitely think that I haven't figured out how to make very interesting videos yet, and hopefully that changes on this one. Maybe you find this one extremely interesting, but according to my subscriber count, most people don't find this very interesting, so I have a lot of respect for people that have figured out how to make YouTube videos pretty interesting. But I'm stubborn. I want to do it my way. I don't want to have to go edit a bunch of videos and put in a bunch of memes that you've seen 1,000 times. I'm just not interested in doing that. I find most YouTube content to be pretty boring, but a lot of people disagree with me. I do think that I am starting this channel at a good time, which is kind of weird to say, and probably a lot of people wouldn't agree with me, but now is the best time to do anything, first and foremost. But YouTube's been around for a long time, and obviously I should have done a channel 15 years ago if that's what I wanted to do. But 15 years ago, I didn't want to do it. But I think with AI getting so popular and so many videos out there being AI and a lot of fake content, to me, in a sense, I think the time of authenticity is coming back. You know, kind of more of those original YouTube videos that were on at the beginning of YouTube. So I'm just gonna slip right in there. I think people are gonna be looking for authentic videos, so that's what I'm gonna try and provide. I also enjoy doing authentic videos. So hopefully you enjoy watching authentic videos. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9. And personally, for someone that's been in a customer service-based industry for a long time, authentic is a little difficult for me. So I think it's a good thing to practice. I'm kind of used to always having that customer service persona on because I'm fairly antisocial and that's the way that I want to be. But to me, authenticism is just being the person that you are when no one's around. And I can be a little bit weird. See? Weird face. So it's hard for me to try and be the person that I am when I'm by myself, with the intent of posting content that I hope millions of people watch someday. But I'll figure it out. I hope that that comes across, and I hope you love me as much as I love you. But we're gonna call it for today. Just gonna stop at bench like I said. I'll be back tomorrow with some legs and some other stuff. But I sincerely appreciate anyone that might be watching at this point. It really does mean a lot to me. So personal thank you to whoever you might be, and I hope you come back next time. See ya.